So you may have heard recently that the federal tax credits for lower-end Tesla Model 3s and Model Ys are expiring this year. Now, does that mean that Teslas are going to become more expensive? Maybe temporarily, but in the long run, I don't think so. If we go to Tesla's website and take a look at their stated goal, it reads, to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Now, the general rule of thumb is that if you want to accelerate human behavior to be favorable towards any product, you have to do three things. Make it better, make it faster, and you guessed it, make it cheaper. And in particular, that last one is key because a customer can want a better or a faster product, but if they can't afford it, it's pointless. So, is the Tesla product becoming better or faster? The Model 3, or the refreshed Model 3 Highland, is becoming better, and since it's on the same platform as the Tesla Model Y, the Tesla Model Y will be getting the same upgrades later next year. So let's see how much better it's gotten. So first, it has a more aerodynamic design, means it can go for a longer range, and it's more efficient. Two, it has a better suspension for a smoother ride. Number three, the higher models of the new Model 3 will have more speakers, but we can leave that out for now because we're talking about the base model. The interior is redesigned, has more comfortable seats, and a much sleeker design. There's also a new 8-inch rear passenger screen to play things like YouTube, movies, other entertainment, seat controls, stereo controls, all the good stuff. And overall, the car does have more insulation for a quieter ride and a quieter cabin. And finally, the trunk space has also gone up just by a little bit. Okay, so for the price not to go up, the car actually has to get cheaper. So can they make it cheaper? So we know from a quick Google search, because I don't have access to Sandy Munro's auto reports, nor do I have access to Tesla's cost accounting software. We'll go with the Google search that says the Model 3 costs about $30,000 to manufacture. Now remember, Tesla doesn't usually release things unless they've made it better or faster, and the key one, cheaper. They are laser focused on simplifying all parts of their manufacturing, including the machines that make the cars, right? Remember, here's Elon's manufacturing philosophy once again.
I have this mantra called, if the schedule's long, it's wrong. If it's tight, it's right. If the design takes a long time to build, it's the wrong design. The best part is no part. The best process is no process. It weighs nothing, costs nothing, can't go wrong. What did you undesign? Undesigning is the best thing. Just delete it. That's the best thing.
All right, let's take a look at history. Has this been done before? Well, we do know that about 100 years ago, Henry Ford reduced the price of his vehicles by almost 70% over a period of about 15 years. Now that's about 4.5% every year. But we can also see that the decline curve of the cost was steeper in the earlier years. And as we all know, history does have a tendency to repeat. So let's assume that Tesla has been able to reduce their cost of the raw material and labor, parts and whatnot by about 10%. But that would bring the cost to manufacture the car down to $27,000. And then going back to Tesla's goal of accelerating the world to sustainable energy, let's say they pass that entire savings down to the customer because the cars are still profitable. Okay, is there a precedent for this? Recently, in Germany, the government scaled back the EV subsidies for the end of this year, and Tesla will actually continue to support the transition to sustainable energy by compensating for the termination of the government's EV subsidy. Granted, this option is only for a few weeks, but it does set a precedent of potential business outcomes that could happen across the world as well. What else could happen? Well, we do know that the tax credits in the US are going away primarily for two key reasons. One being the critical mineral requirement, which is $3,750 worth of credits. And the second one is the battery component requirement, which is another $3,750. So the critical mineral requirement for 2023 required that only 40% of the critical minerals be sourced from the United States or a country with whom the United States had a free trade agreement. Well, guess what? That only goes up by 10% for 2024. So it's not unrealistic to assume that Tesla could make some very small changes and bump up that mineral resource requirement to be sourced from the US or another free trade partner by only 10% more. Same thing on the battery component requirement. It only required in 2023 for 50% of the battery components to be assembled in the United States. That is now going up to 60%. So again, it's not unrealistic to assume Tesla can just retool a few things here and there and get that bumped up to 60%. which would bring the $3,750 in credit right back in. So you could have a situation where the entire $7,500 credit could come back in, and Tesla may not need to pass on anything to the consumer, or they could just bundle it all up together and pass on even more to the consumer. Possibilities are endless here. Okay, so what else? Well, if the Federal Reserve is actually done hiking interest rates, then eventually after the flattening period, some experts believe they could cut rates a few times. Well, that could make Teslas more affordable for people who take out loans. So if we look at all the possibilities, whether credits come back, whether Tesla passes savings to the consumer, or just interest rates going down a little bit, you could easily see a breakdown where, $3,000 from Tesla, $3,750 back from tax credits, and another $750 in the form of reduced interest rates. You could be right back where you started with being able to get that same discount that's currently available in 2023. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So what about the stock? Well, if interest rates go down, that's always good for innovative stocks. If the tax credits come back, that will give the stock a little boost. The one thing the market will hate to see is if Tesla, in spite of becoming more efficient, is then passing the savings down to the consumer. Because the suits on Wall Street are generally greedy and will want to see Tesla keep the profits instead of growing faster by making the cars more affordable. So if that were to happen, that might give the stock a hit, which could present a long-term buying opportunity due to the dip from the suits on Wall Street not liking Tesla's decisions. So those are just some of the possibilities that we've brainstormed. What do you think? Comment below.
If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, just like, share, and subscribe. See you in a Wall Street Minute.